Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I am Chief Justice Maggie Jones from the great state of San Andreas, and I am just going to go over with you a few DOJ updates that'll be coming here shortly. Nothing here is nothing here is set in stone. Everything here is up for review, and if you have questions, comments, or concerns, please reach out to me, and I will be happy to discuss it with you and hear your opinions. Things I'm going to go over today. I'm going to go over the proposed changes to the penal code, um, how the pleas look, and then sentencing. And this is one area that's a big change. So please, when I get to it, stay with me. And then open court, what its purpose is, and why you should come. So this is a picture of what the penal code will look like for you, for the public. You'll still have your definitions, your list of charges, but you notice here your list of charges look a little different. You don't have the time and fine with the charge. Well, that's because it's all going to be on a chart. Every felony is going to be the same. Every misdemeanor A is going to be the same. Every felony B is going to be the same. Every misdemeanor A is going to be the same. And you can just go to that chart for the maximums. Now, maximum means maximum. That means the most. So, anytime anybody's arrested, the most they can get is the maximum. You aren't going to see people getting the maximum a lot. And we'll get to that here in a minute. And then you'll have your licenses and legal processes there. But changes. So a couple of charges just moved up a category. GTA was a misdemeanor A, and now it's a felony C. Reckless evading is a misdemeanor A from misdemeanor B, and reckless driving has gone from a misdemeanor C to a misdemeanor B. Reasons for that is just like the categories they were in. There were similar charges that were less severe, like less intense, I guess I could say. Like reckless evading was in the same category as reckless evading passenger, which they're two totally different things. So I moved reckless evading up, or we're proposing, again, nothing set in stone. The maximum time and fine you're going to see are going to be high, but again, they'll be rarely given, and we'll get to that when we talk about sentencing. Gun licenses, how those are revoked. You're not going to see any changes to how you get them. At this time, we aren't changing that, but how they can get revoked. So, for misdemeanors, you're only going to lose it if a gun was involved. That means you had it illegally, you were selling it, you were using it in some way illegally, and it's a misdemeanor. You're going to lose your gun license. But if you didn't use a gun, you're not going to lose your gun license. For felony C's, which is the lowest of the felony category, if there's violence involved, doesn't have to be a gun, but if violence is involved, you're going to lose your gun license. If it's not involved, you're probably not. But when you get to felony B and above, so felony B, felony A, capital C, B, and A, you're going to lose your gun license if you're convicted of those. Let's go over the three pleas because these are pretty misunderstood. Guilty plea, if you plead guilty, you're saying, you got me, and you accept the time and fine given. After this, no legal matters will be pursued based on this charge. So you're not going to take to civil court because they did something wrong, and you're not going to say, hey, I wasn't guilty and they charged me. Nope, it's done. If you plead guilty, done. Now, the next one is tricky because you can't come back and say I'm innocent in a court of law. You're not going to go to court and fight the charges. You're not going to defend yourself in court if you plead no contest. However, there was something hinky that went on, and you want to go to court. And you may want to sue them because they injured you. And the PD, because they injured you. You may want to sue because there was just something wrong with the situation. You want to sue them for unfair sentencing. Okay? Your time and fine, they went max on you and there was no reason. Well, that's when you take civil action. This is not getting a not guilty plea. This is taking a civil action. So, if you want to do a civil action against the PD related to this incident, you're going to plead no contest. Okay? So, guilty, it's done. No contest, you're going to pursue some sort of civil action. Now, if you don't think they had evidence or you just flat out didn't do it, you're going to plead not guilty. And not guilty, you're going to fight in a court of law and you're going to try to get those charges removed. Okay? So, guilty, it's done. No contest, civil trial probably coming up. Not guilty, criminal trial coming up. For either the civil or criminal trial, though, you have 7 days after that arrest to file via a lawyer or a judge. So if you can't find a lawyer, you contact me or one of my judges and we will get it filed for you. Alrighty? So again, guilty, it's done. No contest, something was up, I'm gonna pursue civil action. Not guilty, I'm not guilty and I'm gonna defend myself in court. Alright, sentencing. So I told you how those maximum times and fines were going to be a little high. Well, not a little high, a lot high. But PD isn't going to be using that. Each category is going to have a recommended fine and time. These are going to change over time as people have more money. I'm sorry, but we're going to raise the fine. But it's not going to be based off your plea. Okay? The recommended fine and time is for a not guilty plea. Now, so looking at B, if you do plead guilty, they can give you a reduction. It's not going to be a 50% reduction or more than that, but it's going to be a reduction. Okay? Officers do have discretion to go up, above, or below the recommended based on various factors. But again, this is a small range. Right now, we're proposing 20%. So an officer can go 20% below or 20% above the recommended. Reasons to go above or below is your level of cooperation. The use of violence. If it's a violent crime, they probably are going to go above, and I approve that. If it's a nonviolent crime, they might go below. If you plead guilty, again, they can go below. But that's just one factor. Recommended fines and times will be based off the economy, and they will change. Now, if there are people out there, and I know this is none of you, but they shoot 10 cops in an effort to get away from a robbery, or they've done the same robbery 5 times this week. Well, we officers are going to have a way, because obviously something's not working for them with the justice system. So officers will have an avenue to go above the recommended range in those cases where it is an awful crime. And we'll look at an example of kind of where that falls into play. Okay, so I hope I'm not overcomplicating this, but basically each crime will have each charge will have a recommended, and that is what you will go off of for a not guilty plea. There are factors that may make an officer go maybe 20% below or above, but again, it's a very small range. However, if the crime is heinous, they'll have an avenue to go above even that range. So here's an example, and in this example, we go through all of the possible sentences that this individual could get. So this is Bob. Bob just robbed oil rig for the 4th time this week, and he got caught every time, so he might not be too good at it. But his recommended sentence is $10,000 and 55 months for robbery of a high-value target. These are just numbers that are there playing around with, okay? Not set in stone. Now, Bob, he's a good guy. Well, I won't say he's a good guy because he's robbing a high oil rig for the fourth time this week. But he's a non-violent offender. He didn't shoot at cops. And he's also like, yeah, I'll just plead guilty. Just get me on out of here. So, with that, the officer could give him a 20% break and go, well, okay, Bob, yeah, you're an agreeable guy. You didn't shoot at me. So I'm going to go 8,044 months because, for those reasons. But then the officer looks at the MDT and he's like, wait, Bob, this was your fourth time this month. This week. Sorry, fourth time this week. So he's like, I can't give you a discount, Bob, because you're not learning your lesson. So he knows that he can go up to, and again, this is 20% above the recommended, he can go to $12,000 in 66 months for Bob on his own. But again, this is the fourth time this week. So he didn't feel like that was enough. So the officer went and he talked to his supervisors and got a sentence approved of $20,000 in 90 months in the hopes that this would deter Bob from robbing oil rig anytime soon. So again, this is outside of the range, a special circumstance, so it went up. Now, Bob is also warned that he has been approved to get the maximum the next time if he is arrested for the same crime within a week. So within 7 days, if he commits the crime again, it's going to be 30,130 months. So again, this may look a little confusing, but it's just looking at a recommended. So again, the recommended for robbery of a high value target in this situation was $10,000 and 55 months. And that would be fine and well, regardless of any factors. But I wanted to show you how different factors could play into a different sentence. Now, in simple terms, officers are going to start with the recommended. Now, they can go up or down in a small range, again at this point 20%, based on circumstances. And then repeat or extreme crimes may result in going above the range, but they require approval. And as always, if you feel your time or fine is unfair, then plead no contest and have it reviewed by a judge. You will have 7 days to file for a review. This would be a civil complaint. You are saying unfair sentencing. All right, and that leads me to open court. So open court is something that we're hoping will happen once a week. And a judge will just basically put out an ad and say, hey, I'm in the courtroom. Come talk to me. And the purpose of open court is to provide a time for citizens to file civil complaints, intent to defend against charges, or any other matter if you haven't been able to talk to a lawyer. This will also be a time where lawyers can know they can come talk to us. But basically, you've tried to find a lawyer for 3 days, you can't find one, but you need something done. Come on to open court, and a judge will help you out if we can, or we'll hook you up with a lawyer. 2, this is also a time to provide for public feedback on the penal code and to get suggestions. So let's say something ain't working. Like, you were like, I've been arrested for GTA 4 times and I don't think it was GTA. Come talk to me. Let's talk about what the law is. And maybe it needs to be changed and clarified. That has happened multiple times. And 3, it's also to allow the public to address concerns with the legal system. So let's say we put this sentencing thing in place and it's a disaster. It's awful. People hate it. PD hates it. Citizens hate it. Everybody hates it. Come talk to me. Okay? We're trying to find a fair way to do things, but we also know that things don't always work. And again, this would be a time maybe you just need to hear the thoughts behind it and why we're doing the things we do. But thank you for your time, and I look forward to serving you as your Chief Justice.